listening to a Pathetically production. Spare Ribs is a podcast where wrestlers and comedians get together to talk about the similarities between wrestling and comedy. With your hosts, Scott the Pro Wrestler and Will Noonan the Comedian.
What is it? I don't know. I don't know what it is. Whatever it is loose. It's all over the place. It's got to be a penis. I don't know what else it could be. All right. You're going to learn today.
Spare Ribs.
Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. This is Will Noonan, the pro comedian, here with Scott, the pro wrestler.
You won't get my last name because I don't want to talk to any of you.
Exactly. You're listening to
Spare Ribs,
where we talk comedy, wrestling, and how the two worlds overlap. And basically, you got a comedian here, you got a wrestler here, and we're talking about both those things.
Yeah. I actually wanted to, because on the first episode, we said something about what gig mark meant to me. But what does gig mark mean to you? Are you a mark for the gigs you get?
Exactly. No, it's kind of true. I mean, like, I'm kind of like my own agent. Like, I book myself. Mm-hmm. I get up every day and sort of try and get work for the next 3 months from now. So like right now,
that's crazy.
Right now, I'm booking for like June and July.
Really?
And May, June, July.
How many times a week do you work?
If I'm lucky, well, almost every week I will work at least Friday and Saturday. Okay. But if I'm lucky, I can work Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And if I'm really lucky, I'll pick up something in the week, like either a birthday party, a corporate gig.
Yeah.
Or if I'm extremely lucky, like a television, or a local television commercial or something.
That's awesome.
So it's like, but yeah, I have kind of like a little routine where it's like Monday is kind of like my rest day, and then Tuesday I do emailing and update my website and all that shit, and then Wednesday I get ready for the radio show and put out the podcast and and all that shit, and then you gotta try and find time to write jokes in between all that and everything. It's a fucking grind, dude.
Well, how far do you reach when you...
I do kind of like from Pennsylvania, like Scranton, Pennsylvania, up into like Maine.
Okay.
But like I only get down to Pennsylvania like once a year, and New York like twice a year. So I mainly just work in England, banging around. But I do mark out when that email comes in, and I know it's a gig.
Yeah.
So that's a definite like gig mark from the comedian where it's like yes, and
so
I know
people don't just think it's me.
No, it's not just the scar left from gigging slash blading.
Yeah, which is
cutting.
Doesn't happen anymore in wrestling, and I'm kind of thankful for that. But
people don't do that anymore, huh?
Well, they do, but I mean, I wouldn't want to say it's frowned upon. It's just not with the times. Like,
what did AIDS kind of put an end to a lot of blading or a lot?
No,
of
I think it was just like times have changed, and
people don't like the blood as much.
It's just very dirty. You know what I mean?
I think it's kind of cool when you're watching a pay-per-view or a match and it like spontaneously happens.
Yes, that's how, nobody just bleeds from the middle of the forehead.
Yeah.
Like, it's very awkward unless you're in a car crash,
you see Hogan like sometimes like when he just has so much blood it's almost like you're putting you off,
not me, because I grew up with it. I thought it was the greatest fucking thing in the world. But
yeah, and I think
now we're used to it, not seeing it all the time, and I think that makes the storytelling of the wrestling better. There is a time and a place for a good, a match that needs it or a match that could use it, but when it happens spontaneously in those matches, then it's just so much more real. And I mean, that's one thing about wrestling. But
I always wondered about that with like how like like maybe in the WWE there's like blood tests happening and guys like, but I mean like two indie dudes like in the middle of like Texas, and they're bleeps sharing blood and like you gotta like
I mean, especially old times, they just every night someone and they'd wrestle
get in color.
Yeah.
Is that what you guys call it?
Yeah. They would do it like 6 nights in a row. You know what I mean? Like,
is it crimson or scarlet? Yeah, scarlet.
It's crimson.
Crimson.
I think that was only like a term used by like commentators.
I had a nickname for Thomas, the Crimson Grin.
The Crimson Grin. He's always bleeding from the mouth.
He's always mouth bleeding.
But how many hours? We should talk about traveling.
Traveling. Because I saw a snap.
What's the furthest you've gone? The furthest.
Well, for a one-nighter, like, that's the funny thing. Like, I saw you were doing one, like, you had a Snapchat, I think it was like 6-hour drive from, like, somewhere in the middle of the night.
That was middle of Pennsylvania.
And that was
a one night.
That's the farthest I've probably gone in one night. Like, I've gone from Boston to Scranton.
Yeah.
But I did once. I remember when I was starting out, you got to do a ton of gigs for free. Mm-hmm. Like, you got to go, listen, man, I'll come to Connecticut and, like, I'll do 10 minutes. You don't have to pay me. Just take a look at me, and, like, maybe next time you'll pay me, you know?
And that's not far off from wrestling. Like, that happens. Guys who are starting out will just hop in a car with me, or I'll just tell them, like, just come along.
Oh, yeah, I mean,
even if you just sit there, you get your face out there, and they'll sit in a car, and they won't get paid, and they'll show up there, and I'll drive them home, you know? And it's good for me because I'm not alone.
Well, yeah, and more people should fucking do that in whatever you're trying to get into. It's like when I had no comedy work, I used to just go to a club and sit there.
Yeah.
And, like, someone doesn't show up, maybe you get on, but even then, I knew how to work the lights, I knew how to work the microphone. It was just like, make yourself fucking useful, and before you know it, people will start to, like, give you shit. They'll know you're a hard worker, you know? That's all it really is. But I did a ton of, like, I remember driving to Connecticut, fucking, like, 4 hours, 5 hours, because I'm going to these, like, bumfuck, like...
Were you going down Route 15 in Connecticut?
Well,
that's, like, the sleepy highway.
I would do those, like, and do those, like... You get down there, and then, like, you're like, oh, I'm almost there, because you're getting off the exit, and then you realize, no, I just got another hour of, like, back road driving.
Back road darkness.
You get scared, you know? I've been up in Maine and gotten scared.
I fall asleep a lot while driving.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa! That's only happened to me once.
I fall asleep with my wife in the car, too.
Holy shit!
Yeah. I tried to, like, not kill us both by... changing lanes, but I changed lanes right into the, almost into the guardrail.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
What's the longest you've ever fallen asleep while driving?
Oh, I don't know. At least
one time
like 5
I woke
seconds.
up in the driveway.
Yeah, I'm like, I hear like, on the
oh my
thing.
God, dude.
Yeah, because sometimes it's like, okay, I gotta get up and I gotta get to Pennsylvania by 1 o'clock in the afternoon. So I get up, I get to Pennsylvania by 1 o'clock in the afternoon, and then the show doesn't end until 10:30.
Yeah.
Depends on when you go on, is when you leave. I personally like to stay through the main event because, I don't know, I like to show respect for the guys who are in the main event, and stay through there and help with the ring if I have to, like, at any point in my career. I'm never above doing any of that shit.
Same here.
Because I think when you start saying, like, oh, yeah, you know, like, we're all working together. But, yeah, I'll get out of there at, like, 11:30, you know, get something to eat, fill my gas tank, get on the road. It's midnight.
Jesus.
And I'll be home at 6, and I know I'll be home at 6. So it's
That's
usually...
almost a 24-hour, because you probably left at 6.
Yeah, I usually leave at, like, 9 to get there for 1.
So a 22-hour.
Yeah, it's a long day. It's a really long day. And then sometimes I drive alone.
Yeah, I do a lot alone.
Because, you know, either people aren't booked or can't make it,
or
and I drive.
Yeah,
I drive there alone, and I drive back alone. And
that's how, I mean, that's how I started the podcast. I was like, I'm doing fucking hours and hours in the car alone all the time, listening to podcasts. I was like, occasionally, maybe I should just fucking talk into this thing and, like, you know?
It's
keeps me awake, too.
Sometimes it's, you find things that make you stay awake. I will stop at a rest stop, and if it's wintertime, I'll not wear a jacket. I'll just wear a t-shirt, and I'll walk in and walk back out. And by the time I'm fucking freezing and I'm shivering, and I'm wide awake.
You do the window down.
Minutes. Yeah, even that, I'm just like,
I
immediately roll it back up because I'm just like sleepy, you know. And then I turn the radio up and I try and sing, and I just turn it down immediately. Like I found if I do drink a lot of energy drinks, like it doesn't really work unless you're like moving.
No, I get that with sometimes coffee. I'll do the coffee, and I'll get like this burst of energy for like 4 minutes, and then it's twice as bad as it was before.
Someone has told me to drive using your teeth.
What?
Yeah.
On the wheel?
Yeah, no hands, just teeth. Because there's like just the fear, like you're putting yourself in such a dangerous situation.
See, that to me even seems like you'd be leaning and like you'd start to get comfortable.
Well, you have to hold it tight.
Jeez, that's scary.
But, and I was pantomiming that the whole time.
I know, we both were. No one's here.
we were faced, nose to nose, biting invisible.
Little steering wheels.
And then I found this one out on my last trip where I was really tired. I took like a 5-hour energy and I drank an energy drink like right as I started, and then an hour later I was falling asleep and I was like, shit. So take 10 to 20 really deep breaths.
Yeah.
Like really deep, and flex every muscle you have in your body. And you'll get energy every single time.
Nice.
I made it home, no problem.
Oh, all right.
6 hours, and I was really tired. But I think that just has something to do with the energy drink and your body, like, finding a way to use the energy, you know? Because the first time it was like 45 minutes, I was wide awake. And then it weans off. I did it probably about 10 times. But
are you an easy to fall asleep guy? Like,
well, at a point in my life, I was morbidly obese, so I'm sure I had sleep apnea.
Really?
So,
morbidly?
Oh, yeah, the doctor said that. I've lost 50 pounds since then.
Oh, nice.
But yeah. But yeah, then I was just so cozy and warm all the time, you know?
I always wondered. I've never really been I was 20 pounds heavier than this. That was like my biggest. I was 180 at my 185 at the heaviest.
Really? Wow.
It's not very impressive.
I'm like 280 right now at the lightest I've been in 5 years.
Yeah, it's like a couple of fucking... I'm a scrawny dude.
It's all right.
And Matt, that 185 most of that was beer and fucking like...
yeah, the beer really kills it. See by my collection
as you glanced up at your beer.
Those are nice beers, though.
Yeah, those
are
all stouts.
I stopped drinking shitty beer because I figured I would have to drink 15 of them every time. So
what's the like comics are a lot of alcohol, marijuana. And then old school is kind of like Coke and stuff. You don't see that anymore, really. But every now and then you'll work with the dude who thinks it's still 1985. And I think you said on the last episode how like you came in. You've never seen wrestling like in a boom period, you came in. It was the end of the boom.
Yeah,
same for me. Really, it's like comedy. I think it's kind of entering another boom right now, but it was dead when I fucking
really
like because the 90s Seinfeld era of like the HBO special and like it was just on all the time, and then
you think that like brought it down or like
that was when it was big, and then it was like then I remember when I like started doing comedy 7 years ago. It was very like really oh, good for you, but I don't think people were talking to me like I said I wanted to be a pro wrestler. Like really, I don't think people were that into that. Like what I'm
really
saying?
And I would figure people would always want to laugh. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean I think there's always like almost like magic. Like it's always there, but like people aren't necessarily like you be. Like I think attendance to stand up comedy shows varies in the same way as like attendance to wrestling shows. And it also used to be like
I don't want this stuff. I just.
Oh, no, that just means...
charging, so...
Oh, we're still recording.
Yeah, you said don't trust that. It happens to mine, too.
Don't trust or trust?
Yeah, you said don't trust.
Oh, okay.
It'll just bring up all your pictures and stuff. We can edit that out. How do you set up an edit point? Do you make a really loud noise into it so it spikes the audio?
I have done that. I'll just go I'll do that.
Perfect. Listen how loud your snaps are. Little baby snaps.
Yeah. I do it on stage. I have a joke where I do it, so I kind of...
You've taught yourself.
I feel like I know I have the gay DNA. That shit could wake up just like that.
You didn't even hit your spot.
See, I'm not Mr. Perfect.
Keep this in. I don't care.
Yeah, I usually keep stuff in.
Listen to mine. They're terrible.
I need that. And like the kick, But yeah, so what about wrestlers? Are you guys? What's the drug of choice for wrestlers?
The drug of choice. There really is. I mean, we drink every once in a while, and I mean, it used to be like pain pills and stuff, but I think that's
the word got out.
Kind of got in the way of the dodo. And where I work, there aren't a lot of people who are just, drug addicts or anything like that. We don't really have like.
No, I'm sure I don't mean addicts. I just mean for recreation.
Yeah, listen to me on my high horse. Yeah, everyone's a drug addict. No, like it's definitely frowned upon to go out there high or drunk. But I've seen it. I've seen people go to the ring very drunk and
stoned for sure.
Huh?
I mean, there's plenty of guys who are openly stoned. Right?
Yeah, and it's sometimes it's just unsafe because I don't think in comedy you're taking anyone else's life in your hands.
Never.
In pro wrestling, that's all we do is. And
which is funny though, there's a code in comedy where some guys think nothing of going up fucked up, but like personally, I don't smoke weed before a real show because
you're clearly a marijuana user.
I'm an enthusiast, but I have a respect for the game of comedy that and also I just know I'm not as sharp. Like, if I'm working on new stuff in like a club in Boston on a Tuesday night, I might go on stage stoned. But if you're paying money to see me on a weekend, you're not going to see a stoned guy on stage,
even if your jokes consist of it, you sound...
Yeah, I might even lie to you and say, I'm high right now, but I'm not. You know what I mean? It's I need to, just to make sure everything's good,
exactly.
Be sharp. And it is, some guys will go, oh, look at this guy going on stage all fucked up. Like, even if he's getting laughs, he'll go like... It's kind of a fucking shit move.
Especially if someone's paying money to see you. And I think,
and more often than not, I think that window is like sometimes it can enhance a performance and make a guy awesome, but he's got to fit it right into that perfect amount of time. Like I feel like a drunk comedian like runs out of steam really fast. Yeah, and
see sometimes I know people who aren't wrestling, like say managers per se. I've seen them have like 1 to 2 beers, and it just kind of loosens them up enough so their wit is really sharp. And they, like they can razz people, or they can.
Yeah, it's probably a confidence thing.
A little, especially, but they're not in there wrestling or anything like that. And I don't not frown on it. Like I still think it's kind of shitty, but like I understand it. I understand like comedy, someone goes out there not really confident. And they need like a little relaxer,
a little bit of a safety net.
Yeah,
I mean, when I started doing comedy, I don't drink anymore, but I used to drink a lot.
Yeah, I've heard that on your.
Back then, I used to. I still wouldn't go up really fucked up, but I would need a couple beers or a beer and a shot just to kind of like. Just to bring me...
Just to ease the
stage fright.
Stress, yeah.
Because even though I've been on stage a lot growing up and everything, it's just different. Stand-up comedy is very different, So I remember being like... But then when I quit drinking and I did comedy for the first time, like 100% straight, sober, like... And it was like a totally different thing, and like, but way better. And like, as the months went by, I was like, it was clear that I never should have fucked with. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, I understand.
I think maybe at the beginning though, when you have a lot of stage fright, it's a good thing to have like a couple beers.
Yeah.
And, like go up on stage and relax, but like.
I think that's a good topic for a full episode. Like we could actually talk. We should finish up talking about travel.
Well, this is a pitfall of travel, though, like as well, because a lot of the time you get into bad habits is when you're kind of on the road and like I know I've never cheated on my girl, like, and I don't want to, but like if I don't drink, but I could easily see myself on the road. I'm fucking drunk. I'm not making good decisions.
Yeah.
That's when chicks come out of the woodwork, and all of a sudden, like, when I'm sober, I would never be like, I'll throw away all that great stuff just for this one piece of ass. But you have a few fucking shots, you're like, I'll never get caught. You know what I mean?
Exactly,
bad things start to happen. So
it definitely can.
The road opens up, like, a lot of, you have to, no one's there to really watch you and make sure you're being good, so.
Where's the furthest away you've ever traveled to, though?
For stand-up?
Yeah, like what's the longest trip you've ever gone
on? Probably like 6 hours, I think.
Really?
Driving. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's about it. 6 to 7, I think.
Yeah.
There was one time when I went to southern Pennsylvania, and it was like a snowstorm. And
did it get canceled? Or?
No, it didn't, and I was hoping it would. Like, and I was headlining, which meant like I had to.
Yeah.
And it was like, I remember I took a buddy of mine with me to open, and it was just one of those drives where the whole time you're just.
Oh yeah.
I didn't even have to bite the steering wheel because my fucking face was like right up against the windshield. I couldn't really see. We're going like 35, and I even took a video. It's still on YouTube from my phone, like of just the road. Like, look at what we're on the fucking highway right now.
Yeah.
It was brutal. That was probably the longest trip of my life. I think it took us 8 or 9 hours to get there, and it was like a 6-hour drive that took all that time. What about you?
18 hours to Wisconsin is the furthest I've ever driven. Not alone, but there's 4 of us.
Yeah, but you guys see that's. You guys get to more places, I think. Like, I think like a comic will work.
Well, I had a friend
area of the country
who would come, and I don't want to like give away names or anything like that because I don't think that's the point of this podcast. But like, he came out and he came from there, so he was like, "I'm going to go back for this show. They're going to fly me, but we could drive, and I could get you on a couple shows." So we, get in a car, and one of my good friends, and I'll drop his name, is Sonny Goodspeed, because he has that's his legit name. His real name is Sonny Goodspeed. Like how wrestling
Can't
is
top that.
Yeah. He just came along for the drive. He was like, I don't want to give away his age. I think he's like 40, but yeah, he just came along.
Nice.
Drove a lot of the drive, and there was me and another wrestler, and then the manager who was going out there, and we went to Wisconsin the first night. It was 18 hours there.
Holy shit.
We got out of the car, got to the venue, wrestled. They had like $5, and you could just drink all night at this venue. I don't know, it's Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Then we got a hotel room, slept there, drove 2.5 hours back to Chicago, wrestled in Chicago, left there, and drove all the way back.
Wow.
And I only got 6 hours of sleep the whole time.
That's probably like a great memory down there.
Oh, it was the greatest, but one of our friends just came along for the ride.
Yeah.
That really sticks out in my memory.
I did that once with my buddy.
Camaraderie.
My buddy was in a band, and we were just drinking at a party in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
My buddy was like, "I got a show in Ohio. We're leaving right now." And I was like, "I don't have anything to do. I'm going."
That's 10 hours. That's a long way.
We went out to Oberlin, Ohio, and just like did the show. And I spent like 2 days with him and his band. And I came back. I called my roommates. I was like, "I'm coming back." And I remember waking up in the back of like the van, like rolling to, and I like caught a few hours of sleep between drunkenness and sobriety. You know what I mean? I woke up and like, and then it's all like coming together. I'm like, I'm on my way to Ohio. Fuck. But it was a good time.
Yeah, it's always funny, especially when you're young and you don't have anything else to do. Why not?
But I noticed that about like the indie wrestlers. Like a lot of times you'll see a guy like Tim Donst. He's like all over the country. Or what, and you wouldn't necessarily expect that, like just because he's not a super famous dude, right? He's a great guy and great wrestler, but it's like he's like in a different city every week.
He's just trying to work, you know what I mean?
Great,
and it's hard when people see you every month.
Yeah. I think it's the same for comedy too. Like I personally, this has just been where I've set up my kind of like little market. But I know guys who they take the drive out to Ohio to work and they'll stick to the Midwest. I kind of have just made this my little like section. Yeah. But if I'm actually trying actively right now to get into the Midwest, so.
Yeah, it's definitely
the territory.
Yeah, go work for Vern Gunn, Midwest. But yeah, like the furthest non-drive, like I flew to Florida and worked in Florida last year.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, that's very cool. That's the furthest distance-wise, like actual distance-wise, I've wrestled. But there's guys that I know go out to, work for PWG out in Reseda, California, and it's in LA. That's all the way across the country. Like you can't get any further.
No, I mean I noticed a lot of wrestling in LA, like through Twitter and stuff, and a lot of guys going out there. Thomas goes out there. Chucky T, I think, was just out there, and Bryce.
It's great. Like I'm so happy for him. I'm so happy that I get to rub shoulders with these guys too, and some of them are my friends.
It's starting to pick up though, and I think actually podcasts like this and things like that, the worlds are starting to kind of cross over. And I was saying that to Jervis Cottonbelly when he was on the podcast. I was like, this is what it's all about, like showing people other things, and people forget, but like
Jervis is from like. I think he was born in 1901, so he's really seen a lot of changes in pro wrestling.
I mean, he remembers when Captain Lou was in that Cyndi Lauper video.
Oh yeah,
just blew it all over.
And I think he was originally mad about it. Here comes my wife.
Did we get to Zane's?
No, but he does the best sell on the big spin that I've ever seen.
Oh, that is the best. I hate it when the dudes just throw their hands back.
Yeah.
So the Kali, like...
Yeah. The Kali was like the...
I hate it when Cena did it. I hate it when the guys put it like, I'm just going to protect the back of my head.
Yeah.
Actually, speaking of like wrestling minutia like that, like I love... I hate it when a guy kicks out at 2, like they
got jumped with a...
Yeah, guy who I noticed, Gulak, he always seems like it's taking every ounce of his strength to like kick out.
Yeah.
Which is what it should look like.
Yeah.
Because that's the whole point. Some guy's trying to pin you down, you're trying to kick out. I hate it when a dude almost tries to like make himself look good.
Yeah.
By like going like, ta-da! Like, I just got right out of that. It's like, well, if you could do that, why don't you just do it in one?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
Drives me crazy, man.
Yeah. All right, we got to figure out how we're getting back into this talk.
Well, we were talking about driving and...
I think we were talking about Jervis Cottonbelly being from 1901.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, but I was saying to him, Captain Lou and Cyndi Crawford. Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper.
Cyndi Lauper. Like, I think that's kind of the sort of thing that's going to do it again for wrestling. Like
the Rock and Wrestling Connection is going to come back?
Well, like Daniel Bryan's Yes Chant is getting mainstream
very popular.
thing.
I think they need to keep him, I don't want to be fantasy booker, but like all those, NHL games and the NCAA games, like if there's somehow someone could be like, oh, that was started by Daniel Bryan and WWE. Like that. Like
the Seahawks did it kind of because he's from Washington.
Yes, that's cool.
But yeah, it was just like Stone Cold and The Rock. Like everyone knew who they were.
Yeah.
My mom knew who Stone Cold Steve Austin was.
Like, oh yeah.
Like
mainstream
needs
star
to be like that.
Yeah.
And I also think I think Chikara is destined for crossover success.
I think they're a great company.
I think when the people I think dudes in record stores, like I've noticed, just like as a dude, like I'll go to a party.
Yeah.
No one's a wrestling fan.
Yeah.
It's just show business types.
Yeah.
I'll see a couple guys who are in show business trying to look cool, wearing like vintage WCW t-shirts.
Really?
And they don't. And I've struck up conversations trying to feel out that
they're actually fans.
And
or
I'm like,
something.
they just bought this at like an Urban Outfitters, or this is just. So I'm like, that's when I went and bought some of that Snarkaroo. Because I was like, all right, if like if people were posing like they're wrestling fans, and they're like buying WCW t-shirts and fronting and wearing them, I'm like, maybe this is actually crossing over a little bit into like
especially
Fantasticville.
You say
Fantasticville. Just made that up.
Yeah.
That could have been a good name.
Do you have any aspirations to, to get out west, like to LA? Because I
was, and then
coming from the outside, that's like the mecca of show business.
It's weird. Like I started in New York, right?
Yeah.
I lived there for like 9 years, and then started. Like I was just like I could only get 10 minutes of stage time at a time. Then I came back up to Boston where I live, so I can get 30 minutes.
Yeah.
And now I'm starting to headline and do the 40, for the past year and a half doing that. And it's like now it is kind of time. Where do I go? Like, should I go back?
Yeah.
So I think I'm going to go to New York just because I'm a little more connected in that town, and I kind of have people there.
Yeah.
And then maybe go to LA for stuff, because I actually did live in LA for about 10 months, like in 2003, and I was just trying to act. And I realized like that's not a town you want to go to unless like you have something going on.
Yeah,
like,
there's so many people there probably trying to do something.
Just 100,000 people a day show up going like, I'm good looking, I'm funny, nowadays it's like, I'm going to be the next action star. Like, every guy, I remember when I went there in 2003, I kept going to auditions, and it would be 30 guys from Australia who are like ripped to shreds and handsome and cool.
They're going for your spot.
Yeah, and I'm just like, and it's
were you trying to be that Australian guy?
No, I was just trying to get anything. You know what I mean? I was trying to get Taco Bell commercials, like give me anything, you know. And I was just like, I had no heat, like I had no show business heat, like no positive stuff behind.
When you say show business heat,
yeah. See, we use heat positively. Like,
really?
That's a big crossover.
Well, I mean, we can use heat positive. You know,
that's one of the ones where my brain kind of like has to do math when I hear it, because like all my life it's been like in comedy, it's been like this guy's got heat, which means it's like he's
starting to get hot.
He's doing good, because the industry is looking at him.
We use heat in the way it's like, this guy he's getting heat like. With me, personally, like that means a bad thing.
It's bad.
But there's also like, he's getting heat with the fans. Like that's good.
That's good.
Like, he's a bad guy. He's being hated.
Yeah,
and he should be hated. You know, like
so that's good heat.
Yeah, there's good. And then there's cheap heat, and then there's
nuclear heat.
Yeah, nuclear heat's a good one.
That's my favorite. That would have been a good name for this podcast.
Yeah, nuclear heat. I'll probably get nuclear heat for doing it. So. No one's ever gonna know me. I'm just Scott, the pro wrestler.
You could be anybody.
Yeah. I'll be like Eric, the actor.
Let's just say he's El Torito. This is him.
Listen to my Mexican voice.
You know what's fucked up is people will try and figure it out because. And maybe you can tell me this is like a truth. I've noticed that the women fans, the women wrestling fans, the women marks, they're the ones who want to unmask wrestlers.
What?
And they're the ones who
want to see what they look like?
Well, they want to know the secret identity. Like, because when I had Jervis on, a bunch of chicks, Twitter followers of mine.
Yeah. Loved this
one girl in Texas, one girl in Worcester. They like got their little detective hats on Twitter together and started figuring out stuff, and they were like we're trying to figure out all of, secret identities and stuff.
That's
like
ridiculous.
And,
really,
just because they want to know out of curiosity.
Really,
and they actually the girl sent me a message or tweeted me like
I don't want to know because I don't even know what he looks like. So
I was like I don't want to know, you know.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So it was kind of like.
And that's surprising to me because you think it's like the nerd who's sitting in a basement, eating cheese sandwiches, trying to figure out who Jervis Cottonbelly is.
I've noticed it's the ladies, and
well, I mean that English accent is, whew.
It is, and I love how he goes warmly. It's cotton.
Yes, he's. I mean, like to me, he's just a yellow head.
Yeah,
maybe a Simpsons character.
It's tough to not. Yeah, I mean, I was saying to someone. I remember talking to my girlfriend the day I interviewed him.
Yeah.
She was saying something like, I had a weird day. She was like, you had a weird day? I was like, I just talked to like a yellow man for an hour on the phone. And like asked him a lot of questions. Like, like
yellow man with an English accent.
I said it's kind of like talking. I've never talked to like Kermit the Frog, but I imagine that's what it's like. After a couple seconds, it's just
you're just talking to Kermit the Frog. Yeah.
And he makes me laugh, and I think that's what comes through like on the podcast when people listen, they crack up at him. But yeah, I noticed with another guy. I don't want to say who it is, but he is, and he was like, I was at a show and. A girl I didn't even really know was like, I know what he looks like, like I know.
Really?
I'll tell you his real name, and I was like, I don't want to know his real name.
That's so weird.
And I remember being like, what's up with these ladies? Yeah, it's the ladies. And
really,
and me and my buddies are kind of like, there's a curiosity where we might sit around and be like, what do you think? What do you think he looks like?
Yeah,
what do you think he does for? Like, what do you think his apartment looks like? But we don't want to really know. It's just kind of.
I think it's almost better to. Like, if you think about what Jervis Cottonbelly's apartment looks like, I think the fantasy portion of it would be great.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, everything has a mustache.
Yeah, it's just kind of... I imagine, like, there's a lot of, like, polished brass.
And a lot of, like, hardwood everything.
Yeah, paintings.
Yeah.
Like
Paintings of
flowers
hardwood.
and pots and stuff. Nice stuff. Actually, that's been one of my ideas that I always thought it would, like, the WWE should do, like, a fictional, like, cribs for each of their main guys.
That'd be great.
Like vignettes where they're
It
like...
costs so much money to make all those houses into.
That's the beauty. You just find someone
Who has that place.
who lives there. Like, there's got to be some guy out there. Like, you go to Gracie's house and you're like, this is where CM Punk lives. You know what I mean? And you just say it's like
just jujitsu, and you put a few hardcore albums out. Yeah.
put like some like zombie toys and like the thing. Or you go to like like just some weird log cabin in the woods, and you're like, Daniel Bryan lives there. You know what I mean? Like, I think people would totally dig that.
That's Washington, yes.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
No, that'd be fun. I mean, I always loved the early '90s vignettes where it was like that stuff. It's like Lord Alfred Hayes would go up and they'd be in the gym. Oh, gym vignettes in wrestling. They're in the 90s or the 80s. They're always in the tightest little pants, like, and they're shirtless, like
Zumba.
Zubaz,
yeah, Zumaz.
Zubaz.
Those things were like so popular back then, and the acid wash jeans. I really hate jeans in wrestling. It's always been something.
Yeah, that's bad.
What do you think about wrestlers who don't wear shoes when they wrestle?
Like barefoot?
Yeah.
I think there's a place for it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Like Savage character or just like any... Because it was a debate me and my buddy were having because I was watching one of the old Kelly Von Erich matches.
Kerry Von Erich?
Kerry Von Erich? When I say Kelly.
Yeah. That's his sister.
That's a lady's name. But I was watching one of his matches and... I really dug it. Like I like those old classics. And,
the WCCW stuff.
Yeah, like I really like just like the style and like just looking into the crowd is cool. And he was like barefoot, and I was like, wow.
Kevin Von Erich was the one who was always barefoot.
Oh, maybe that's
Kerry actually only had one foot. So he could only be barefoot.
Well, that's a crazy story.
Yeah.
Right? Didn't he like...
He got into like a motorcycle accident or something.
And then he tried to fake it like it wasn't that bad, and he just taped it up or something?
They were so popular down there that like it's not like you could be like, oh, Kerry's never going to wrestle again. You know, he was like slated to win the NWA world title.
I remember hearing that. I just kind of heard that story secondhand. Like,
yeah, it's really crazy.
Broke that whole family. All that stuff is so crazy. That's a movie in itself.
Yeah,
but like
from the tippity top of it to the bottom.
Yeah, from like the whole have you ever heard like the theory that like it's all because of Nazis, like they got cursed? Like,
no, I haven't.
The story is like because Fritz Von Erich allowed himself to be to just as a heel, he was a Nazi character.
Yeah,
like that's why like with the German name and everything like that, they were like, all right, this guy's gonna be a Nazi character.
Yeah,
like, and that was his initial gimmick, was like he was a Nazi. So people were always like, like he got too into the gimmick and he played with like dark stuff, and that's why, like that's why.
That is such a wrestler, like a fan thing.
Yeah, it's the same with like, like Benoit's wife was messing around with that voodoo.
Oh my god, that's ridiculous.
The Benoit stuff is such a weird thing in wrestling. Like just yesterday,
there's only two people I've ever like got really bummed out about who died. Actually, three. It was Owen Hart, Eddie Guerrero, and then Benoit. And then I realized Benoit was just murdered his family, and I was like, "Oh my god!" That was the craziest.
I feel bad. I truly feel really bad for that guy. I don't like. I feel bad for the way he's been like the way the WWE did it. Like they were like, "This guy's the first day." It's like, "This guy's the greatest."
Yeah.
I don't think and then it's like, no, we'll never mention him again. Sorry. And then
that was a good send off.
But then years later, it's like now with everything everybody knows about concussions and he had they said he had the brain of an 89-year-old Alzheimer's patient. It's like, well, can you maybe put that through a 2014 lens and be like, all right, let's cut the guy a little slack. Horrible what he did. Yeah. But you don't just become this. You're a great guy your whole life. Overnight, this happens. It's not a coincidence. I mean, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Has there ever been a comedian who went off the deep end and
Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah, and nobody looks at all at all comedians
Yeah, and they don't go like, let's never mention this guy.
Yeah, like, they don't go like, oh, Will Noonan, he's a comedian. He's kind of like who is it? So I can, Well,
I mean, there's tons of guys who have like committed suicide. Like that's like a really.
Well, there's a ton of wrestlers who are fucking dead too. But you know what I mean? Like none of them. Only one of them went off and murdered his whole family.
There's a guy in Rhode Island who did murder a guy who still does comedy.
He still does comedy.
He did his time and. He did his time.
He must have a lot to laugh about.
And,
Fuck.
He. It's like this whole story where I don't know the guy super well, but he like went to. It was like back in the 80s or 90s. He's in a club. Fight breaks out. They took the fight outside, and he picked up a branch off a tree and beat the guy with it to death.
What?
Yeah, and the guy did 3 years in prison.
Wait,
and,
3 years for brutally bludgeoning someone with a piece of wood.
Since it was like a street fight, he got like because it wasn't like he was.
Yeah, it wasn't like he was a crime of passion.
Kill you,
he didn't show up with a stick and beat.
I guess.
I don't know.
But the guy was opening for like Andrew Dice Clay at the time, and he was like doing really well. Yeah. So this guy's sort of a legend, especially in the sense that he's still working. He's kind of like people are like, oh, And there's like people will go to young comics of like, don't tell him he killed, all right? Like, don't say he killed tonight.
I get it. Oh, I get it.
Like, if you say he killed, he'll punch you in the face. Oh, shit, really? Like, a little bit of a rib. Rib on the rib. That's a wrestling term I love, rib.
I don't want to get too into it, because I don't want to...
Maybe we should have called this Spare Ribs.
We should call it Spare Ribs.
Spare Ribs. I can change the title.
We can change it. Just edit it in like spare ribs. Just spare ribs. Edit it over gig mark the whole time because I like spare ribs. So
all right, let's go with spare ribs. See, we came to it organically.
I like that. There is a guy in New England. Unfortunately, someone passed away during a match in 2005.
I heard. I think.
I don't want to get into.
Wasn't the announcer the same guy who does?
Yeah. And I had made a similar joke, like killer moonsault, bud. And I said it to him.
Did you really?
Yeah.
Oh, you are a heater now.
Yeah, real bad. He didn't pick up on it because he was high.
That would be kind of like me, though, to say. So I've gotten some heat from my peers for certain jokes I've made. Like,
do you make it about comedians?
Or just like, I have a similar sort of, just say it, man, if you're thinking it.
Yeah.
Like, don't go around and just, don't say one thing and act another. It's like, especially nowadays in comedy, there's a very, like, I think it's from starting in New York, like, where people just, you have a bad set, you come off stage, your best friend will be like, nice set, you sucked. You know what I mean?
I think that's great too, especially if you have a bad match in wrestling. There's so many guys who'll just be like, "Hey, good job." And if you're never told you suck, I say this a lot. If you're never told you suck, then you'll never think you suck.
Yeah,
because you'll be like, no one's telling me I suck. If people only tell you the good things you do, then you're just gonna be like, oh yeah, I'm the best.
And the day you start thinking you've got to figure it out, you're fucked.
Yeah,
like, no matter what. But yeah, it's even to this day, like the real pros, we don't fucking come backstage and pat each other in the back and go like, you kicked ass tonight, buddy. Like, we're just either nothing or, like we'll break some balls. Like when I'm bombing, like it's never not gonna happen. Jerry Seinfeld bombs. Like everyone, some nights, like we were talking about the crowd, they're just not there or you're just a little off or something. And like I remember I did a gig last week at noontime with my buddy. And I'm up there, like, eating it for 5 minutes before I could really get them.
Yeah.
And every now and then I'm looking backstage just to watch my friend, like, bent over with laughter, like, watching me fail.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, because it's just, that's what it is. Like, that's the game like, we play. And it's like, I don't know, I think it's, there needs to be more of that right now. Like, there needs to be more, like, I'm with the young, like, I'm in this weird spot where, like, a lot of young comedians in Boston, like, want to get on this show that I'm running.
Yeah,
and they're like,
that's pretty cool too.
It's great, but it's like this weird thing where I'm put in a situation where I need to tell some people like it's not necessarily your time right now.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like you are a brand new comedian. Like you need to be thinking about like 30 steps behind this before you think about this. and it's putting me in like this weird situation. But I just made a decision like a month ago. I'm like, I'm just gonna fucking be honest with people because that's what people need. And if like if people want to be, and honestly, no one has been upset with me. Like, everyone's just kind of like, yeah, thanks. It's almost like they want to say that's what I thought, but no one was telling me.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
what I mean? So it's just kind of like, I think that's also a very Massachusetts kind of point of view. Like, I'm just fine. It's in a behavioral, especially like, just fucking give it to me straight, dog.
Yeah, just tell me. Yeah. Like I kind of say this. I don't really tell people, but I think it to myself. I'm like, oh, I am my least favorite wrestler to watch. Like I will force myself to watch my own matches just so I can be like, oh, what are you doing? Just so I know, like. Yeah. And I think that's how I was trained to like. Well, you always be better, and like. I
think you should be that way, though. I think that's the only way you're going to continue to like change yourself and like try. I think that was like one of the things that was bad about me when I started was I thought I was better than I was when I first became a comic, and I was like I was more concerned with like being accepted than I was with just being good at comedy. Yeah. You know what I mean? And I'm trying to like befriend older guys when really I should have just been trying to earn their respect through being a good comic. Yeah.
You know? And we kind of have like a saying like there's always like the kid who comes into the locker room and like over exaggerates everything, and he's like over the top and like in your face, and we just say it's like he's just trying to get over with the boys, like like he's acting too hard, instead of he's trying to be their friends instead of like being respected, you know, like. But
I think sometimes some people learn different ways too. Like I was one of those guys who kind of needed to make a lot of my own mistakes, and I got a lot of good advice that I just didn't fucking take, and had to make my own mistakes and kind of put my foot in my own mouth and realize that I had like fucked up, and pardon my French.
Oh, you don't have to worry. She listens to me swear all the time. And she'll tell you firsthand that I say exactly what's on my mind all the time. That's all I ever say. So,
you got any good rib stories from your days as a
rib? I do have a great rib story.
I love these.
This is really good. When I first started coming around wrestling, I had a friend, and
that's over now. You have none.
Yeah, pretty much. And his name was George.
Great name.
It's still his name, actually. It's a. It's not like it's
he's
changed.
Not the dead
guy.
No. But seriously, I was sad.
And we kind of came in together, and he only wrestled for a few matches before he stopped, and he's a ring announcer now, and he's a good ring announcer. He's a good kid. We had the same trainer, and we were on a show up in Littleton, New Hampshire. And George was a bit naive at the time, and they told him, all right,
you're green as grass,
motherfucker. Yeah, Stone Cold was there telling us we were green. That George was going to have a match early in the show. It was his third match with me, and he was going to beat me, and then he was going to come out during the main event, which just so happened to be Brian Fury and Eddie Edwards in a steel cage match.
Ooh,
he was going to come out. He was going to come out after the match was over, do a leg drop off the top of a cage onto Eddie Edwards, and beat him for the heavyweight championship.
Oh my god!
And at first he's like, No, there's no way. And they're like, no. And then even in the pre-show meeting, they're like, all right. At the end of the show, George is going to come out. He's going to hit a leg drop off the top of the cage onto Eddie Edwards, and he's going to beat him. And George is our new heavyweight champion. Everyone clap, give it up for George. Everyone clap, and everyone fucking knew it was a rib. They didn't smarten me up because I was his friend, but I knew it was a rib. And so
funny.
So they're building him up, and he's still kind of like no, and they keep giving it to him like, no, man.
Did he even say like, you guys are fucking with me,
of course he did. He was like,
this is too much for me, or he was just like, you guys.
He's like, you guys fucking with me, right? And they're like, no, you're gonna come out, you're gonna win the heavyweight championship. And they were like, George, it's going to look so great to them that an unknown wins the heavyweight championship. It's going to bring them back next time, And he starts believing. He starts believing a little bit. And he's like, oh, yeah, you're right. Yeah. So he's starting to get fired up. He's starting to
now he's like, I'm going to be the heavyweight champion.
And I knew in my head it was a rib, so I was like, all right, I'm gonna call this match and be like, all right, I gotta put you over big. And it was only my third match, so I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was taking some bigger bumps for him, and I tapped out to a finishing move that he had never done before. It was just a lot of stuff that happened in the match that shouldn't. And we didn't know what we were doing, but yeah, they're like, yeah, just go out there and just do everything, and get him over. Okay, so. They're like, all right, George. And they're going over it together. This is what's going to happen. They go over exactly move for move what's going to happen. And at this time, we had a monitor out back. So one wrestler has his arm around George, and he's like, all right. And the wrestler's looking through the curtain. He's like, don't look. Just relax. Because he's fucking so nervous. He's terrified. And he's starting to get real fired up. He's pounding his fucking legs. He's like, oh yeah. He's so fucking excited. He's like, all right, I'll tell you when, because I can tell you're nervous.
Yeah.
And I'm watching the monitor. And everything that they told him was going to happen wasn't fucking happening. Nothing. It was completely different. So what they were doing was keeping him from looking out there and keeping him from looking at the monitor at the same time. So they're
just holding on.
Yeah, holding on to him. He's like, all right. He's down. Okay. Yep. And they're like, and first off, if you think about it, how is he just going to come out, hit a leg drop in a match that isn't even his? So, yeah.
I was wondering.
That's the big part of the rib. No one was going to know.
The crowd would be like, why is this guy?
Yeah, he just didn't put two and two together on it.
And what are the legalities of getting a belt that way?
It's wrestling.
Yeah, right.
So they're like, all right, are you ready? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, are you ready to do the leg drop off the top of the cage? He's like, yeah. So they go, all right, go. And when he goes, they grab him, as he's right it's like the fucking vaudeville hook, and then yank him back, and they're like, we're just fucking with you. And you can see it just deflates.
I'm not the star of the show.
Yeah. But no, it was all in good fun because he took it really well.
Now, does that kind of thing happen to a babyface more than a heel? Because the babyface kind of gets some glory and kind of gets some love.
No, it just happens to
all the rooks.
Well, it just happens to everyone. It's just having fun.
Yeah,
it happened a lot more back in the day because everyone was traveling all the time together. So to keep the morale up, ribs like that are fun, where it's not hurting anyone. Taking a shit in someone's bag is a fucking.
People do that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's happened quite. That's like a wrestling get the fuck out rib.
Okay. Yeah, I've seen I guess in hockey I could see some stuff like that. Mean, almost like a bullying move.
Does any of that happen in comedy?
Yeah, I mean, if anything, I wish it were that. I wish it were like that. Because I think in comedy it's more it's going to be hey, this this one guy's going to be ride you for a year and a half.
Really?
And then one day, there's been guys, 2 or 3 guys in Boston that I hated so bad I was going to punch him in the face. You know what I mean?
Really?
But then, years later, I was like, oh my God, this guy's a good guy. He just was, not going to let me into this awesome club super easy. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of don't... I think especially me, because I come up to Boston with a couple years in New York, I had a little swagger. Hey, I'm a comedian, guys. Just let me into your fold.
Yeah.
And it was more and a lot of people did, but I think a few guys were just hey man, you're gonna have to earn my respect, even though they were just a couple of years older than me, And there's this one dude in particular. I remember people used to go don't you see? He's just fucking with you because he thinks you're a good comic and he's threatened by you or something. And I'd be like, no, he's a fucking asshole. I'm gonna fucking kill him. And I also I've had moments where it's weird. It's probably the same with wrestling. Wrestling takes all types of people. Or at least comedy takes all types of people.
We love weird people.
And in comedy there's guys who are real nerdy and antisocial and like real meek.
Yeah.
And then there's guys who are like regular fucking guys who will fucking fight you or tell you to go fuck yourself. And so there's like nerdy guys, there's like jock type guys. And I just remember being like, I was like, I'm gonna let this guy know I'm not a fucking nerdy comedian who can be pushed around, you know what I mean? And that was like kind of my stupidness. But so like there's stuff like that, and I think there's guys who kind of become, you know, like it's the same. It's like if people respect you, like, and respect what you're doing comedically, it's like that's your pass. You can do anything you want. Like I've seen guys come in who are just funny and everyone loves them because they're funny. But then if a guy comes in, he's just not that funny, but he's trying to kind of be too familiar. That's when you're gonna start to get people being like, one of the good ribs is in our business would be the fake gig. Would be
do you book people on fake gigs?
Yeah, like
really,
like you'll call a guy up and you'll be like, especially a guy who's getting no work. You know?
I love that. I'm gonna do that.
Yeah, call up a guy who's getting no work and go like, listen, is this you know, let's pick like one of my best friends, John Paul Rivera.
Yeah.
This is John Paul Rivera. This is Dick Doherty. I got a gig this Saturday. It's in and then you just try and make it as bad as you can to see if they'll say yes. You know? It's in Western Mass. The money's 15, and that's a door deal. So if we don't get 100, you won't get that. And then it's like, you know, you got to pick up John Gavin at his house. He's on probation right now, so you're gonna have to blow into his car steering wheel to activate the you know, because he's had a couple DUIs. So don't drink before you go. You can't drink all night. You know what I mean?
I love that. That's really great.
And you get these guys to, okay. and then you'll literally see them that night and be like, hey, what's up? And they're, oh, fuck you. Or another one is you call a guy, and if a guy's name is like Matt Kona.
Yeah.
You'll call him all.
Is that an actual person?
Yeah, I'm only using close friends who will probably listen to this.
Yeah.
So like another guy would be like, say, neither one of these ribs have either happened to these guys.
Yeah.
But you call up a guy, say Matt Kona, and give him a gig, and then at the very end go like, this is Matt D, right? Or Matt Donaher, right? No, it's Matt Kona. Oh, sorry, no, I want another Matt. Bye. No, you don't have to go. You know what I mean?
I like that.
That's another one. Telling a guy he's going to have to do an hour when he's only going to do 10.
Oh, really?
You know, like stuff like that.
Does he show up and...
Shows up, he's freaking out, he's got an hour ready, and you just go, oh, you're only doing 10. Whole demeanor changes. And then, of course, he has a great 10 because he's prepared.
Yeah, exactly.
Like stuff like that is the kind of thing.
But yeah, I mean, there aren't too many wrestlers.
Scott the Pro Wrestler's wife has him in a headlock right now.
She gave me a smooch.
Here at 316 Gimmick Street.
Wrestler ribs. See, we don't really do too much, like other than.
One more. This is one of my favorites.
Oh, okay, yours are because you guys are more creative than us.
One of my favorites is when we're on stage. You get a light to get off.
Yeah.
One of my favorites is guy goes out, tells one joke, you start giving him a light.
That's great.
It just like
does it panic him?
It just like a real pro is gonna know you're just being a jerk and going like, oh, I guess you didn't like my first joke, but and maybe laugh and it'll kind of throw them a little bit. But a rookie will be like, what? Like it'll hurt them, you know, like, wow, I tanked it already, you know. So that kind of stuff is fun. Little
things like battle royals. Whenever there's like a battle royal on a show that I don't care about, like if it's on a show that I care about, then I'll be serious. But on like a show that I don't care about, I'll go behind everyone and just give them like shitty back rakes, and I'll try it. It'll be me and another guy, and we'll see how many we can do. Because everyone's just struggling in a corner and they're just back raking everyone around the ring because they have to sell it. Everyone.
I like that.
Yeah, and then I've seen some hateful ribs. Like when you don't like someone, you get a hold of their phone number on a Patriots playoff game, you put it on Craigslist and say, hey, I got free, and you just fuck with them, like really hateful stuff.
In high school, we used to really be dicks. We used to sign our friends up for those recruitment things. And we'd be like, how's Saturday, 8 a.m.? Can you come by my house? And then you'd sign up your buddy's name and address, so some Marine would be at his door at 8 a.m. being like, I have a meeting with your son at 9. We used to do that to each other.
That's good.
Back before the internet.
Yeah, I think we should have to do more ribs, but we'll wrap this
Well,
one
we got
up.
the name now, Spare Ribs.
Spare Ribs. What do you have to plug?
Oh, this will be for the next week.
Yeah.
So I got. I think that's the week I'm.
Are you on vacation?
But that Friday and Saturday I'm on vacation during the week, but on Friday and I'll be in Worcester on Saturday at the Stage Time Comedy Club, and on Friday I'm going to be in. I think it's to be announced. I'm going to be in Braintree or Quincy. It's a South Shore town.
One of those towns.
Yeah.
And, everyone go check out chikarapro.com, neprowrestling.com. If you're an aspiring pro wrestler, that's the place to go in North Shore, Massachusetts. It's Brian Fury's school. It's a great school.
I'll put that in the description of every podcast.
Because I want to promote it. He's my friend, and he runs a really great, he has great students.
I've never met Brian Fury, but I heard, no bullshit. Everyone only has great things to say about him.
I originally hated his guts.
Really? That's the first thing I've heard that's negative.
Yeah, I originally hated his guts until about 2 years ago, but he knows that, and he hated me too, but now we're good friends. It was the same thing that you kind of had with that guy.
Yeah,
I don't know. I don't want to say he was threatening.
Kind of two alphas, two alpha males bumping head.
Exactly. But now we're great friends, and I help out at the school, and he's got a really excellent, really excellent school there.
People really do sing his praises quite a bit.
Yeah, he's an awesome trainer, and
follow Brutal Bob Evans on Twitter.
Brutal Bob Evans,
I love that dude.
Is awesome. He's a great guy, and May 25th, 2014, you should watch, or at least try to go to. It's in Pennsylvania. It's going to be You Only Live Twice. It's Chikara Professional Wrestling's return show at the Easton Funplex in Easton, Pennsylvania. And definitely check it out, because that's going to be something serious. The show sold more tickets than they've ever sold before. And it sold out in 2 weeks with 0 matches announced.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be one of those stories you could be telling for the rest of your life. And if you're a big-time wrestling fan, you will want to be there.
Yeah, for sure.
And
check out some local pro wrestling. Just go see it. And if you don't like it, go to a different show. And don't go back to that one.
That's the main thing.
Chances are you went to a show that sucked.
We should make that like the end of everyone. Go see comedy. Go see wrestling.
Definitely.
Don't just YouTube it.
Yeah.
Go.
What is it? Is it Last Call? Is that the show you do?
The Last Stand.
Last Stand.
Yeah, that's a good one.
You can watch it at Last Call at Laugh Boston.
Yeah, you can be there for Last Call.
Yeah. I need to get out there and check out one of those soon.
Yeah, we're gonna do some stuff. We're gonna have a WrestleMania live at Laugh Boston.
Really?
And I'll be hosting.
Sounds fantastic.
So we got a big high definition screen.
I'll come.
Yeah, it'll be awesome. I was hoping to maybe.
Yeah.
Do some
if
cool
this
stuff
takes off before then,
maybe we'll do a live podcast.
We'll do a live one.
Yeah. We could absolutely do that.
Nobody knows who I am. So, all right.
But soon women will be searching you.
Searching to figure out what my head looks like.
Trust
that's okay.
Don't trust
I was just trying to make sure your phone was charged.
All right, so signing off this episode of formerly known as
Gigmark,
now known as
Spare Ribs.
Thanks, Scott.
Thank you. We shook hands for everyone.
Shook hands.
More on Will Noonan at willnoonan.com. I said more on.